Welcome back to another episode of One Kick from Glory. The seasons are over. We can all relax. We can all put together our own predictions. We can all start to dream. We can dare to dream or continually fail, as that club has as their motto. But anyway, I'm joined as always by Craig on my right.
Yeah.
And of course, Matthew further across as well. So today we're going to be talking about strikers. There's been a lot of movement activity. I say a lot. There's been some activity in the market so far. We've had Erlind Haaland join Manchester City, first big deal of the summer. And then, of course, Darwin Nunez has now also gone across to Liverpool. There's been talk of Gabriel Jesus maybe swapping blue to red and white. But before we get into those moves, I wanted us to have a little look back at our favourite. Oh, I want to sneeze. At our favourite striker. And I want to start with you, Craig. Who would you say, looking back, was one of your favourite Premier League strikers, and why?
Say, growing up when I was young, being an Arsenal fan, Ian Wright and Dennis Bergkamp. I say Ian Wright because the way how he scored goals. And when I was in primary school, I was on the playground playing football with my friend. When I was imitating all the goals he scored, the scoring and then celebrating what he celebrated, and the way how he was so passionate for Arsenal, and the way he just loved football, and he made it late in life as well. So I would say him.
Okay, and for you, Matthew, who would you say was your striker that you looked to a lot?
Got to be the drug, man. Got to be the drug. I mean, sorry for the predictability, guys, but it's there for a reason. But I just think especially when Jose came round and that kind of new revelation for how Chelsea were going to go on and be like one of the mainstays for a club that's going to win the Premier League. And you have to remember, he didn't get better until he got older. I'm not saying it not comparing him to say Ian Wright in a way, but it wasn't until 2-3 seasons down the line once he kind of got measure of how the Premier League kind of worked. He started really kicking off. And it wasn't just really the Premier League he performed in. He performed in all them kind of big games, big game play like finals, FA Cup, League Cup, Champions League. Any final he'd find himself in, he'd always deliver big game, big match player, and it's just kind of leadership from the front. That focal point we're dying for, and you even now, the strikers we've had since, very few have kind of matched up to the standard that he had. They're really big boots to fill, and I just think he's left a legacy that's going to be just very hard to top. So it's got to be him, mate. It's got to be him.
Yeah, and I think for me, mine is pretty self-explanatory. Thierry Henry, easy one to say. I think for me, the impact he had on the league as a striker. I mean, he kind of, so many young players now watching. Obviously, the high knee socks thing wasn't his invention, but he's the one who popularized it. Of course, in England and around the world, and other players now will emulate it. But just little things like, his kind of confidence, borderline arrogance, and the fear he would put into defenders. When you got players like John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, who's shaking there, when he's coming to play against him, you got something about you. And of course, looking at these great players, obviously, we all have, these are all players from our teams, but of course, we've had rival strikers that we might look back on and think, oh, that guy was quite a player. So for you, Matthew, looking across at rivals, who would you say is a striker that you really admired?
Gotta be Thierry, mate. It's gonna have to be going back to what you said about how he brought something new to the Premier League, and he wasn't just a great striker for you guys, he was a great striker for the league that itself. And I think he came in where the Premier League was kind of seeing a little shift in its mentality and how it behaved, because we went from a certain kind of striker, and he wasn't a natural striker in the first place. He kind of got moved inside striking position, but with that he brought of zest, a flair, a vavavoom, he brought that, he coined that phrase, and it was part of the Premier League in them adverts. He brought a bit of a European chic for that kind of period before, and then eventually he came. The rest kind of followed on. So we saw Rafa come along. We saw Gerard Houllier came along, and then Mourinho came along. It's almost as if the Premier League was kind of branching out and getting out of his comfort zones a little bit. He wanted to travel around a little bit. And when you talk about, a lot of people talk about the greatest Premier League player of the modern era, they even say the likes of Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Thierry Henry. I'm always going to say for Thierry Henry, because some of his best years were his time spent in the Premier League. So yeah, if it's, I don't even hate to admit it. I don't even hate to admit it, because the performances and the the stats are there. So Thierry Henry's got someone I really, really admired.
Mm. And for you, Craig, who would you say, looking across that rival teams, the striker that you admired a lot?
What a few. Well, I say, I like Les Ferdinand and Andy Cole. They're very good, the goal scoring wise. But it has to be the Premier League's top scorer of all time, Alan Shearer, because the way how he scored goals, he carried like that Newcastle team when they were struggling. He carried that team for a long time until he retired. He won Blackburn the Premier League title. I know he only won one major trophy in his career, the Premier League title, but I'm sure he could have gone to bigger clubs and won big, like he could have gone to United and won more trophies. But his loyalty to go back to his hometown club, you have to give him credit for that, going back home and doing something for his hometown and the community where he's from, to go back home and try and win something, but it wasn't able to. But they had some exciting times in Newcastle when he was playing.
No, that is very true. And I think mine, I'm going to throw a curveball, because actually I was looking at some clips of his recently, and I feel like his career in the Premier League should have gone on to a higher level, but for some really bad choices, and that's Fernando Torres. Like, the start he had at Liverpool, he came in and he was so electric. He had everything. He just, I mean, I still remember that goal, and it was a goal I scored on Sky Sports the other day. And it's the goal against Manchester United at Old Trafford, right?
Yeah.
Long ball over the top. Vidic thought he had a bit of time. No.
Man, just bulldozed his way through.
He made Nemanja Vidic look like Shkodran Mustafi. If you know, you know. Unbelievable. I've never seen Vidic get bullied like that before. And then, great finish. And that he was just that guy. And of course he made the transfer to Chelsea and it all went to pot. He should never have left. Isn't that right, Marcus? Yeah. But look, obviously talking about Torres and Liverpool, and of course, the impact he had, we're going to start off with the second signing of the window, and that's Darwin Nunez. Mm-hmm. Big money, Uruguayan striker. So for many, they feel like could be following in Luis Suarez's footsteps, maybe. Some people have already likened him to potentially another Andy Carroll because of the hair. And I'll start with you on this, Matthew. When you look at that signing, because obviously the striker market is not as good as it used to be. There's not many certified strikers. I think of those two deals that have been done, I think one is a bit more secure than the other. However, every team has to take a kind of gamble on who they buy. When you look at it on the surface, also the fact that he's likely going to be a replacement for Sadio Mane, who's potentially leaving this summer for Bayern Munich, pending a fee and all that kind of stuff. How do you see this working out at Liverpool? Let's start off with in season one.
Season one, well, they've done what I thought they'd be doing, and they're doing it in a very shrewd and smart way. They're moving out their current, still effective if aging stars, are replacing them with some youth, because they already got him now. They've got Jota still, and they're getting Carvalho from Fulham. Yeah. So already, and they've still got Salah. They still got Salah in the wings. So already, their attacking options are probably looking, better than ever. I don't know if anyone remembers seeing him. I think the game in the Champions League. I think it was the quarters or was round of 16, and I think the impression was made there. They're looking there thinking, imagine if I had him in my locker. I'd rather have him beside me than playing against me. And I respect that in a manager thinking I'm gonna do one better. I'm only gonna do that. I'm gonna pinch him for you. He could be very, very effective in that way. I think you say in the Premier League. Like you said, the demand for the market for strikers isn't very, very good. So they've got themselves a real kind of unique and kind of interesting player. He's young still as well. He's 23, 24. Either way, he's under 25, which is always good for a striker's age. He could be a problem. He could be a big, big problem, because it's his support network around him is going to be keeping him the goals and the chances coming in. If Robertson and Trent can keep doing what they're doing, we're going to see the defenses have got to butt their ideas up, and by defenses I mean Chelsea's defense, because we ain't got any defenders at this current moment in time. I don't know where they're going, and we play them. I think in the first 6 games. Thank God, fixtures came out today as well, so thank God for that. Yeah, it could be a problem. This could be again. Never mind the managers. Between the two of the strikers, between here and then Man City, the title race is still going to be between the two of them if this kicks off the way that we think it will. So. But yeah, I think they got a good player in their hands. A very expensive but very effective transfer they've done.
Yeah, and for you, Craig, how do you see it panning out as your first season in for Darwin Nunez?
He might start off well, or it might take him time to get used to the Premier League. I think he might do better in Europe. I think they bought him for Europe.
Champions League games.
Champions League. He's already established himself in the Champions League, so I think he'll take a water like ducks back on Champions League. But Premier League is more physical. He looks like a physical specimen. He's a very big, tall, strong guy. But when you have players like you have an average Joe coming and smashing him from behind, then
it depends how he takes it.
Yeah, how he reacts to it. So I think what Klopp might do, he might not play him a lot in the Premier League. Like he might gradually just ease him in, like make him a sub. Bring him on for like 20 minutes here and there to get used to the league, and then because remember he's still got Firmino, he's still got Jota, so he's in the pecking order, and he has to work his way to get into the first starting 11. Even though he's the most expensive signing ever.
You know to bench him like because the first game's Fulham, I think, which would be interesting.
Well, it depends on if he has a good pre-season, he might start the first game of the season. It all depends on. And it depends what kind of system Liverpool want. Maybe Liverpool want them as a backup plan. Like, say they're losing the game and they want someone to bring on for like last 20 minutes and want to like swing the walls in for headers. He's good in the air as well. So
big tall guy.
They might have Trent on one wing, Robertson on the next wing, swinging in balls in to get him to header it, or maybe the midfield creating chances for him to score. So it'd be interesting to see what he does in the Premier League. But I feel he'll be fine.
I think we could. Yeah.
I think he'll be fine.
Ace in the hole.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one because at the end of the day, like for the money spent, I don't want to say I would. I mean, it does depend on what happens to Sadio Mane because he might still stay. But if Sadio left, I would expect Darwin to start the first game of the season.
Absolutely,
irrespective of Jota's form. I'd expect him to start, and I wouldn't expect him to finish the game. I'd expect him to start, and maybe that would then give Jota the encouragement to go up another level.
Definitely.
That this guy's coming. But then at the same time, putting him on the bench could also help. In terms of numbers, how many goals do you think he would get first game for his first season? And what would you classify as a successful season? So what would you classify as successful goals-wise, and what do you expect him to get? I'll start with you, Matthew, as you think deeply about it.
Anything above 15.
Okay. And how many do you expect him to get?
Maybe... I'm going to go gun home. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to say maybe even 20.
So you expect him to get 20, but 15 plus is okay.
Yeah.
So for you, Craig, what would you say is a successful season numbers-wise goals, and what are you expecting him to do?
Like my first, I say 15 to 20 goals.
Okay.
I'll say maybe we get 15 to 20, maybe we get like maybe 17, 18 in the league. He will get a lot in the Champions League.
Cup competitions.
So he might get maybe in total, he might get like 20 to 25.
So, okay, 2025.
Because if you get like 15 in the league, you get Cup in the Champions League and Europa League and Champions League and League Cup and Carabao Cup and FA Cup. So he might get goals. It might be all spread around for the season.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a bit low. I'm gonna say he'll get 14 league goals, and I think for it to be a success, I'd want to get 20. 22.
That's a good.
That's reasonable. Okay. Yeah.
We'll move from Liverpool to the champions. Erlind Haaland back to his dad's old playground. I love that they recreated the picture of him as a child for his announcement for the reveal. He hasn't got a shirt number yet, which is very telling. So Edu, you know what to do. But again, I think of the two transfers, I think that's for me is the more surefire bet. Obviously, for both of them to come into a new league, different way of playing, higher intensity. But I think with Erling Haaland, he, especially looking at their records at international level, that for me is a good indicator of how well you'll adjust. And I think Haaland has done really well for Denmark. Sorry, for Norway.
Yeah.
Norway. They're different. For Norway. And he's also done well in the Champions League for Borussia Dortmund. So I think those two things will keep him in good stead. For you, Craig, I'll start with you this time. Like, when you look at it on paper,
Mm-hmm.
like how do you see Haaland fitting in at Man City?
He'll fit in well because he's got. Remember, you got players like De Bruyne. You got you got the
Grealish.
Bernardo Silva. You got
Silva.
Grealish. I don't know if Sterling's still going to be there or not. We don't know. Mahrez. You got so much creativity in that team. You got
Gundogan.
He might be
Gundogan,
leaving,
yeah.
though, I think.
You got in that. Yeah, you got Foden as well. That midfield has got so much creativity, and you got like Cancelo will give him assist. Kyle Walker will give him assist. The whole team can give him assist. Even the goalkeeper.
That's true.
So it's true. Even the goalkeeper will give you assist. He just launch a long one and he just bomb forward, boom, goal.
Have we written off the league already?
No.
No, not yet. No. But
okay,
in hindsight, I feel he'll do well at City. It might take him a couple of games to get into rhythm, but I think once he gets into rhythm and he's fit and 100% sharp, he'll score loads of goals in the Premier League. I don't know if he'll score more if him and Nunez will score more. He'll score more than Nunez, but it's a shout. There might be. At the end of the season, might be going for the top goal scorer in the league.
Okay, let's go there. How many goals do you think he'll get?
From his form at Dortmund, he scored a goal. He scored 2 goals a game.
Okay.
His record at Dortmund, 2 goals, a goal a game, or 2 goals a game. I'll say maybe 25
Damn.
In all comps or the Premier League?
in all comps.
In the Premier League, how many?
Maybe 20, 21, 22. Maybe he could.
22 goals in the Premier League, 25 in all comps.
Champions League as well. Maybe.
I tell you what, let me let you think about it because there's numbers that are adding up. For you, Matthew, like when you look at that transfer and you think about the impact he can have in that team, you look at what Aguero meant to them and what unfortunately Gabriel Jesus was not able to add to that team. How does that take them to the next level?
If they're rolling the dice on this one, Man City, you could tell they're rolling the dice. So getting another, 6 leagues in the last how many years is not an achievement to be sniffed at. And whatever I say or anyone else says we don't care about them, it's still achievement that has to be respected. But we all know that's not the one they want. They want the one with I say again, they want the one with the hoops. And to me, they've got one of the strikers, what I like to call the complete package. The guy can run, the guy can head. He's strong, he can shoot, he's a presence, and he's got one of the luxuries that you want from all your good strikers, that he's got the ability to make something from absolutely nothing, which is something they have missed in Aguero. Jesus couldn't quite meet up to the standard. He's always going to be, not to denigrate him for the possibility that you guys might get him. I think for you guys, he's going to be very, very good. Once that, because it's based on the cards that he's basically going there. But I think if you want someone who's going to lead the line for a charge for the Premier League, it's a bit too much of an ask for him. I think he's good for one who's going to keep you in Europe, who's got a European standard and knows how Europe works. So if you get him in the Europa League, he's used to playing in the final and stuff like that. So he's going to perform well. But Harland is just that bit more. It's just that unfortunately the team around him was just. It's a kind of meeting in the middle where you had the team at Man City good enough to win the league, but he just kind of fell short. And then with Haaland, it's kind of the other way around. There's always going to be a Bayern Munich ahead of him. He, on paper, just with De Bruyne alone, the assists he provides, I mean, it's going to be cricket scores. I don't know if you guys remember when Mancini first came through and the money first came through and making all these signings. I think Aguero was still quite new, and they were hitting 6 odd goals.
I remember that
For fun.
I remember that. Him and
If
Tevez.
it wasn't him, it was Tevez. If it wasn't Tevez, it was Balotelli, or vice versa.
Or Dzeko.
Oh yeah, Dzeko, another one, Dzeko. And they still got guys who can score in the team. We have to remember they won the league last year with no striker. They now have a striker. So logic says, paper says, stats say that it's going to be another. It's going to be another battle between the two of them. So on the paper, it kind of has to work, really.
The rest of the league needs to catch up.
No, indeed.
Raising the bar.
And numbers-wise, what would you put him down for this coming season?
I think he's going to get. I'm going to match Craig's and say 25, but I say it's about 17 in the league, which for a first start in the Premier League, I think is
brilliant. Yeah,
very, very good.
That would put him in amongst the Golden Boot conversation.
Yeah, easily. I don't even Jesus got anywhere near that. I don't think.
No,
I think he got 14. Was it 14, 15 he got last season?
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season, he was scoring a lot of goals, and towards the end of the season, when they were playing him a lot. There's one game he scored 4 against Watford.
Yeah.
So I think he started. I think Guardiola start. I think the reason why Guardiola started playing towards the end of the season because he wanted to get his value up and all that. It wasn't because of sentimental value, because he wanted to get he wanted his value to go up. So he wanted to play him more to get him. So if they command the fee from him in the summer, they could ask for top dollar because he's scoring goals and goal scorer.
But also, it made sense tactically because it was a different option that they weren't utilising. So for teams, when you do your scouting reports, you weren't scouting for Jesus in the middle.
No.
So when he's up there now, it's another issue to deal with.
It's true.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I think those numbers look quite interesting. I think for Erling Haaland, he needs to have a 20 plus goal season to be a success in the league. You know, I think probably get more than Nunez. I'd say 18. Yeah. So Nunez got 17. That's about 18 or 19 goals. I think he might hit the 20 goal, but getting 20 goals in the league is very difficult. In that team, he should get it. And then potentially, if that goes well in the league, I think in all competitions he could be touching 30.
Definitely.
Could you imagine?
So, and I think that those are the kind of numbers he would need to have, not just justify the fee, but just the reality of the expectations that Man City have and where they want to get to. You kind of have to hit those numbers. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. Obviously, we know Chelsea, you're looking to move away from Lukaku, trying to work something out of Inter Milan.
That's a low, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into him, how do you feel so far in the Bowley era?
It's been very there's been lots of like speculations of players that we want, but we're not actually making the means to kind of sign them. That could be one of two things. Or I think it's mainly one thing. I think it's a case of trying to negotiate or move on the players that we don't need. So what's happening exactly with Azpilicueta? What's happening exactly with Alonso and Christensen? Rudiger's gone. He's already gone. That ship has sailed. But what about the rest of the players? Because I know there was always a case of a lot of players in that team that were going to be moved on, but it was going to be where and what kind of fee. Because I know very well that Chelsea we like to be shrewd dealers. Now that was paid probably most of the case under that, the ruthless dealings of Roman Abramovich. What's Bowley going to bring? I don't know. What's Bowley's first signing? It looks like it's going to be that Koundé guy from Sevilla, which we should have got last year. And seeing as we're going to be lacking defenders, we're going to need him this year. I mean, because our best defender, if Azpilicueta goes, is going to be Thiago Silva, which I'm grateful for, but he's like 37. And the idea of him facing up to someone like Harland, Nunez, or someone else, I'm absolutely daunting it. I think I saw today that they're looking to do with the Lukaku deal as a part of like a loan or something. It's just insane considering we spent 100 million in only 12 months ago. I think that's what I think. That's what I'm gathering. I think it's a case of plus the international breaks, Nations League and everything. Once all that's kind of settled, then we'll start making some traction and maybe see some players kind of move on. So I don't think it's a case. The only player I think we're kind of confident. Also think about Sterling as well. I also said a thing about Sterling as well, which I'm not sure how to take, but I'd welcome him. I'd welcome it.
Do you think some of the inactivity could just be paper talk? And maybe, because even, for example, today, as of recording, breaking news that Arsenal are about to sign Fabio Vieira from Porto. No one had it. Only one journalist on Portugal posted, announced the news, broke the news as exclusive. No one else had it. There's no murmurings in the UK press at all.
Nowhere.
They've all since come on board and confirmed the news, but no one knew. So do you think that could be the case? You could be working in the shadows this window as opposed to normal.
I like to think that. I'd like to think. I want to at least try and make a sign from somebody, because this would be Tuchel's second window, second kind of big window. It'd be interesting to, because I feel like last year, as far as chasing the league, I think we were just there. But I think some key injuries and some really poor form and just kind of like poor and bizarre decisions just cost us halfway through the year. For the first half of the year up until Christmas, we were kind of there, and then after that, we just never really recovered. Lukaku wasn't hitting in the goals. The defense was getting really inconsistent. The injury to Chilwell was massive, and then the thing when Mendy went away for his AFCON duties, obviously he won. We saw a little bit of a dip there. I guess we'll have something with Kepa as well. We don't know about that either. It'd be nice one morning I wake up and say a random signing's just been made, or negotiations been made, or more still, what's happening with the loan players like your Broziers, like your Gallagher's. I think Gallagher's going to be a big one. There was something, I think, in place for him once all this is done off the Nations League is done. So I think one of the first things we're going to find out is A, the Koundé deal, because that's what I'm going from last year, and B, the loan players that we kind of want back. So, because if Lukaku goes, who's going to be our striker? So, yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big one to sort out because, again, like I said earlier, the market for strikers is not that great. There's a lot of teams that need new strikers and we want to refresh things. Manchester United, for example, might be looking, obviously, at Arsenal. We are bidding for Jesus, looking to renew Nketiah. Also, there's talk of Victor Osimhen from Napoli as another option. So lots of paper talk, maybe some smoke behind it, but you never really know. For you, Craig, looking at how the market's gone so far, looking at how the market's gone so far, obviously there's been a lot of talk of paper talk. Not many deals have been done. I think a lot of that is down to Nations League, internationals. Why we're still playing the Nations League, I don't know. Let these boys rest. The league starts in a month. Ridiculous. Preseason starts end of this month.
Yeah,
the league starts a month after.
August. Arsenal's the first game. Crystal Palace.
So like these players need proper rest. But like looking at how things are going to be, who would you say is going to be like your surprise package for next season? Which team are you expecting to have like a really good season?
I feel Nottingham Forest.
Think so?
Their manager, he won the under-17 World Cup with England. He's got a good connection. He knows all the talented young English players coming through because he worked with a lot of them. He knows like Ryan Brewster. He worked with James Garner last season. He knows all the young talent. Obviously, if you work at England as an England youth coach, you know all the talented players who are coming through. So he might be able to get a favour here and there from some players. So I want to kind of take this player. I think they might do well. They did well in the Championship. When he took over for Nottingham Forest last season, they were near the bottom of the league. They were struggling. And from them climbing up all the way to the table to playoff position, get to the playoff final and winning it, I think they got a good chance of doing well this season, next season. Because teams don't know how they... Because sometimes when you got a Championship team when they come... Like Brentford, they could be like another Brentford. But when Brentford came up last season, everyone thought Brentford would get relegated and whatever. And what Brentford did, they were able to win matches when the people thought they were going to lose. And then in January, they brought in Eriksen. Eriksen was the game changer for me. When they brought in Christian Eriksen, they had that Premier League experience and he uplifted the squad. And players like Tony were scoring more goals from his assists. And some of the fringe players who were not getting a lot of minutes were scoring goals. Like, were doing better because he kind of gave them that confidence. But when you see a top player come into a big club, small club, no disrespect to Brentford, I don't mean in a horrible way. But,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, but if a big player that comes to your club and you're going to want to perform and do well for him because you say, you know what, he's here, I'm going to up my level. My game's going to up by 10%, another 110%. So, so I'll say that. And I'll say, I think not Forest will have a good season next season. I think they'll do well.
Okay.
If they get the right players in, they have a good structure, they have a good young English manager, a good English coach in Steve Cooper, I think they could be a surprise package next season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And for you, Matthew, who would you say is going to have a surprising season?
I don't think it's going to be Newcastle. The money aside, I think they finished like firmly in the bottom half of the table, but were very, very safe. Obviously, there's going to be a few results, so we're going to go against them. But the fact that they've been so smart and very like frugal, particularly frugal with the money and what they got by working, and it's still working with the bare bones that they already have and getting another young English manager. They finished off strong, I think. But this season now, they haven't signed anyone yet, but if any team's going to have that kind of pull to starting something new, a new kind of dynasty, a legacy, and waking up a sleeping giant in some sort of way, and a team that was like a cornerstone of the Premier League in terms of the standard of football and entertainment and what it means to its people, and no one's going to love that more than Newcastle. I can see them finishing in the top half of the table. I can also see them having a good cup run, which I think is always a good mark of confidence. Could you imagine what it would do for them if the first time of asking they went and won, say, something like a Carabao Cup? Would be massive.
That'd be seismic.
Massive, because that is a guaranteed doorway into Europe. Now, I'm not, and again, they might get there and they might get turned after a few rounds or something. But the point is, the seeds have been sown, and Newcastle fans now know of what's possible so far with the money that they've spent. There are a lot of out of contract players out there that can still put in a good shift to kind of get them to that next level where you might not be here forever, but you're going to build us to something new. And along the way, when we get there, we're going to forever remember you. Because Newcastle, they love a legend. They love a little hero. From the likes of say Shearer, all the way to the likes of Norberto Solano. They love a hero and a guy who was happy to play for the club. It's no surprise if any of you guys remember a movie called Goal. It's no surprise that the first film was based on Newcastle United. It's no surprise. They love their football. They don't care about the trophies. They just care about going to a weekend after a hard day's work, and every Saturday or Sunday they go and see some good stuff. Some entertainment can mean more than most trophies and medals in the world. So I think Newcastle are going to be a one to watch. The window is very much still in its infancy. Those out of contract players might have a home to go to after all. That's all.
Pogba. Just put it in the air. Let's put it in the air.
I mean, I think Paul Pogba will definitely be in black and white next season, but I don't think it will be Tsunami. I mean, he may move to Paris, but it might be black and white on TV, but blue and white in real life. But yeah, I think for me, my surprise package team, I'm gonna go Palace.
Oh yeah.
Depending on what they do in terms of replacing Conor Gallagher, because I need a player to supplement that role. I think they are well placed to have a very good season. Eze will be back fully fit after having last year kind of rebuilding his fitness. Elise has adapted, had a season under his belt in the league. Mateta is trying to make that thing a thing where he kicks corner flag and the fans go boom. So the fact that he has a celebration that he wants to make a thing, that will fuel him to get more goals. We know what Zaha's all about. And then Mitchell, another season of more experience. Anderson will tighten up some of the things that were not so good last year. But I think across the board, they've got a squad, or at least a team, that are nicely placed to have a top 10 finish. Where in that top 10? Maybe 8th. If I'm being really generous, possibly 8th. But then that's now saying that are they going to displace a Leicester or a West Ham or something? I don't know, but I think 8th is a position that I would target if I was them. 8th and another cup run. And let's get to the final.
A good cup run, yeah.
Newcastle, Crystal Palace, FA Cup final. Let's go.
That would be sweet.
Let's do it.
That would be real sweet.
So that's what I'm kind of hoping for, and we'll see kind of how that goes. But yeah, I think the final thing we'll talk about, I guess, looking back on the season as a whole, because we've done a few recaps. We kind of looked at how things have gone. We had our predictions of the top scorers, and some of us got them right. I don't think anyone called the league leaders, the league winners, right. I think we all got that wrong.
We all got very wrong.
It's fine. But looking back on the season for our teams, I'm going to start with you, Craig, and over to you, Matthew. Considering how the season started, how it kind of went on, how it ended, what's one moment that you look back on and think, I would change this one moment in the season and the outcome would have been better for my team?
The Arsenal Newcastle game and the Brighton game.
Gotta pick one.
I said the Newcastle game.
Okay.
After we lost against Tottenham in that derby, all we had to do was go to Newcastle and avoid defeat, and we'd have got top 4. If we didn't lose against Newcastle where we'd have got top 4.
So you wouldn't consider Aubameyang being kicked out of the club as that moment that you would have changed?
Yeah, I would say that as well. I would say that if we got rid of Aubameyang, we should have bought a replacement striker in January. Because Lacazette was not scoring. Eddie Nketiah, we didn't know that Eddie Nketiah was going to have the impact that he had towards the end of the season. But as a top club, if you call yourself a big club at Arsenal, you need to have top players, top strikers, top players. And I feel that we loaned out too many players as well towards the end of the season as well. And then when African Cup of Nations came about, players got injured, players are out of form. And then when they came back, Partey got injured. He had Maitland Niles who could have played in midfield for a couple of games instead of the Congo when the Congo was struggling. No disrespect, the Congo's going to be a top player. Don't get it twisted. It will be a good player.
It just wasn't the right time.
It wasn't the right time. Even when Tavares was struggling in some games, I thought that there was one game he played well and he got taken off. I think it was the Newcastle game. He was playing well and he got taken off. That's not good for your confidence. Manager taking you off and not giving. You need that confidence. He's a young kid as well, so coming from Portugal, so you need that confidence boost. So definitely, I would say that result, not replacing Aubameyang.
Okay.
Yeah.
For you, Matthew, what would you say was that one moment that you look back on and you think, yeah, change that, whole season changes?
Negotiate really good contract.
Mm.
Like without a shadow of a doubt. He is a trophy winning player.
Yep.
He's a luxury player where, I mean, I don't know if you've been watching the Nations League lately, it's been dead boring, but
I can't watch it.
the Germany game reminds me what we're gonna miss from him. His animosity, his just his drive, his attitude, his nature. Like he's got a lot of like. It'll be like this, if you tweeted something about him, and this happened with AJ as well. If you said something about him, he'd come. You hear that knock on the door, and you see him there, thinking like, well, he's that kind of guy. He's that kind, and he's one of the few, if only, players that we had at Chelsea. We should have negotiated his contract sooner. So at least if he did go, we'd get something in return. He's going on a free. Do you know how tragic and sad that is? And I'm watching him in the next game and thinking, that was our man. That was us. He was ours. And he's won what? The 3-4 separate international trophies. He's going to go off and probably win. If they have another great season under Ancelotti and they make the signings that they think they can and we can make from them, he's going to probably go on and win another trophy. He's a unique kind of centre back.
Elite footballer.
He's very unique. It's like a decorated kind of style, and I just wish we negotiated his contract. And I just think there is a Premier League winning defender in him. If you're talking about one of the best centre backs in the league, he's up there. Easily could have won the league had certain things. Had we not lost certain games, and the draws absolutely killed us this season because we just got too damn many, especially towards the end of the season. I mean, we only drew with a relegated Watford. We drew with Leicester. We drew with Wolves.
Burnley.
We drew with Burnley. We drew with Everton. We drew with
so
many teams. Drew Liverpool twice. All right, that's fine, but still, it's two more. It's two more draws. I wholly believe because we didn't lose that massive amount, but draws. If we didn't get all those draws, we're right in the mix. Literally right in the mix.
But Matthew, one thing I want to say is, like when I think the reason why Rudiger left here because of the uncertainty with the club, with the Abramovich thing, why he left because he thought what's happened at the club. A lot of players. I think a lot of players in Chelsea got unsettled.
Frank
as well.
It's quite simply the fact that how Frank Lampard treated him by not playing him, by effectively saying that he's not good enough to be at our club. That's when it was done.
Yeah,
and even though you're right, you should have started negotiations earlier with him. That damage was done. And when you don't value a player, especially one with that much quality and that much personality, the thing is, there's a lot of characteristics and qualities that Rudiger has as a player. You can't teach. You can't teach personality.
That's true.
You can't teach a player how to bring presence to a pitch. No. You can't. You either have it or you don't. And he has it in abundance, and that's a big thing you've let go of, and it's a big thing that, on reflection, you're going to look back on and think, "Well, we really
Rudiger wouldn't have done that."
Especially if Real Madrid have another great season and get the Champions League
And
again. And they're going to be up there, and they would expect to win it. So if that happens, then that's when questions have to be asked.
It's going to be, if he goes on and kicks on, and we have a season where it just kind of peters out, something like that, it's going to be like, well, we all know where the elephant in the room is. But it's going back to what you're saying about sports and characters. Every sport needs that one person where you look at them thinking, we can't teach you what you have. It's just one of those abundant things that you just born with, likes of Zlatan in football, a character, the likes of Jose, another character, Henri, a character. Hell, if you go across the board of other sports, in cricket, you had Flintoff. In F1, they got the likes of Hamilton and Vettel. In the Olympics, you had Usain Bolt. The kind of thing that you don't teach, the kind of people that look like they're having fun, but that there is a monster in there, and that's what Rudiger was. He was having fun doing it, but I mean, he squared up to the Chelsea fans after a 6-0 defeat. That takes mentality. It really does. So, we're gonna miss him. We really are. But we move.
Yeah, that's a massive loss. I think for Arsenal, it's pretty self-explanatory for me. I think it's January. Not replacing our captain, to me, is a single reason why we didn't get Champions League. Quite simple. Because we just needed one win. We just needed one more win. And it's the same as Emery's first season, one win away. And so it's endemic of Arsenal as a club. We always do almost enough. And I'm really hopeful. I have to use the word hopeful because as Arsenal fans, we have abundance of hope. I'm very hopeful that this summer they've learnt the lesson. I mean, the deals that are being, the fact this Vieira deal has come out of nowhere, that is amazing because that's how I want Arsenal to move this summer. I want us to just pick off players that you wouldn't have seen coming.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, the fact that even though we're going for Gabriel Jesus, there's still talk about Victor Osimhen from Napoli coming in. Which is interesting that we actually bid for him, got rejected. Apparently, the journalist is relatively reliable. It's not Fabrizio, but it's another Italian guy who's relatively reliable. So if that is true, and we know we're still bidding for Jesus, we know we're negotiating for Tielemans, and that'll probably get wrapped up once the Nation League is done. That, to me, signals that they're aware of the deficiencies from last year and they're making big, bold statements.
Yeah.
But just wait and see how it all pans out. But, you know, that is it for us for tonight. I think thanks everyone for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know what you felt was the moment that ended your club's season. If you're a Liverpool fan, what are you expecting from Darwin Nunez? Will he have a 10 out of 10 season? How many goals do you want? And if you're a Man City fan, if there's any of you watching, there's not many of you, I'm just joking. But if you're a Man City fan watching or listening, what do you think about Erlind Haaland coming? Will he claim the golden boot of Harry Kane? And lastly, do you think Harry Kane will regret last summer and not pushing for that move? Because those ankles won't hold up forever.
That is true.
And now he's stuck at Tottenham. Conte or not, he's still stuck at an institution that is not used to winning. That is it from us. Have a great rest of the day.
Peace out.
Safe.